Hello, my name is Amalia Allan, and I thank you for attending my presentation today. The purpose of my study was to examine practicing music teachers' perceptions on inclusion approaches for student learning and behavior. Specifically, it examined their opinions on the importance of using certain inclusion approaches to help the learning and behavior of students with disabilities. First known as the All Handicapped Children Act of 1975, this law, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, mandates a free and appropriate education to any students who fall under defined disability categories. These children are to be taught in a least restrictive environment, a setting where children with disabilities can learn alongside their non-disabled peers to the maximum extent possible. Students who fall under IDEA criteria require an Individualized Education Program, or IEP, a legal document which includes educational goals, supports, and services that are to be provided to the child so they can find success in school. Studies examining university curricula found limited courses in special education for pre-service music teachers, specifically courses that are music content specific. Other studies reported that pre-service music teachers felt more confident and prepared to teach students with disabilities after fieldwork experiences in similar settings. Several studies have reported music teachers' lack of preparation to teach music to students with special needs. Concern was expressed on their preparation to understand and implement IEP goals and teachers' lack of familiarity with laws like IDEA. The majority of behavioral studies in music education have evaluated general students' attending behavior as a function of class activities and teacher behavior. Scarce are studies that investigate behavioral issues in music classes, specifically those associated with students with complex needs. Draper's study focused on the behavior of students with disabilities in a music setting, and she stressed the need for more comprehensive studies of this nature. My study examined in-service music teachers' perceptions on inclusion approaches that impact both learning and behavior for students with disabilities. My research questions were: what training and experiences have in-service music teachers had regarding special education and IEPs? To what degree do in-service music teachers feel inclusion approaches are important for students with disabilities learning? To what degree do in-service music teachers feel these approaches are important for students with disabilities' behavior? The dependent measure was an online survey that I created using Qualtrics. It has 3 overarching sections. The first section contains questions on participants' training. The second 2 sections include the same inclusion items for participants to evaluate based on their level of importance. The only difference between these 2 sections is that one is for student learning and the other relates to student behavior. The opening section of my survey asked about participants' training in special education and their preparation to use IEPs. Participants were first asked if they had had any training in either of these areas. If they answered yes, they were then asked to explain their training in a short answer box. If they answered no, they progressed to the next question. The next 2 big sections of my survey, which contained the inclusion items, were identical in format. Each section held 40 inclusion items divided into 6 subsections: learning formats, lesson features, individualized adaptations, tools and aids, laws, and contracts and documents. These 2 sections ask participants to indicate their perceptions on the importance of inclusion items on a scale from 1 to 6, with 1 meaning not at all important and 6 representing extremely important. I decided to use 6 points rather than 5 to avoid having a neutral middle answer. With an even number, respondents would show a direction with any answer. The survey was emailed to all K-12 music teachers in a large southeastern state, numbering 3,503. This included music teachers of all specialties. They received an email with a brief explanation of the study and a link to click on if they wished to participate. Participants were informed in the email message that clicking the link indicated their consent to participate. However, they were also informed that they could stop the anonymous survey at any time without penalties. My first research question asked about in-service music teachers training in special education and with IEPs. Participants' responses showed that overall, music teachers received most of their training outside of college, mostly through professional development opportunities. Let me define the terms in this table. Under out of college, we have professional development, which is any type of training to maintain music teaching credentials. This includes workshops, in-services, and required training at the school, district, or state level. Work experience refers to special education-related work that were unique to the participants. Personal experience includes any hands-on experiences with family members or friends with complex needs. Participants who were trained in college music education programs could have learned through coursework and/or fieldwork, which they specifically stated. Different career training means participants were trained in special education because they pursued a career separate from music education. Most of these people were music therapists. College unspecified holds people who stated college without specifications of the program. The state where the participants reside requires college coursework as part of their professional development, so it is possible that their college experience could refer to post-music education training as well. College not mentioned holds any people who didn't make a reference to any college in their response. Please know some participants expressed more than one location for their training, which is why the numbers do not add up to 100%. My second and third research questions asked about participants' perceptions of specific inclusion items for student learning, question 2, and student behavior, question 3. I will explain the answers to both questions side by side along with the discussion. Sums, means, and standard deviations were first calculated for the 6 subsections, the categories, that held the 40 items. Regarding items for student learning, contracts and documents had the highest mean score and learning formats had the lowest. Contracts and documents may have had the highest because of their purpose or reputation in society. Laws was the second highest score, perhaps for similar reasons. Learning formats might have been lowest because their effect is not as observable as it is with other items. It could also be that some music teachers may not always use all the different formats in their area. Looking at categories under behavior, contracts and documents were again considered the most important, with a mean of 5.32. Interestingly now, laws is least important, perhaps because teachers think that their knowledge of disability laws won't impact their students' behavior. Sums, means, and standard deviations were then calculated for individual items, first for their importance on student learning and then for student behavior. Looking under learning, individualized instruction had the highest mean score, perhaps because of the one-to-one interaction with students. This is also the format used in private music lessons, which might be highly valued. Group work had the lowest mean score, perhaps because of the lack of trust in students as independent learners. Also, some music teachers might not use group work in their classes, so they may be unfamiliar with the benefits of collaborative peer interactions. Group work is not as traditional for music teaching. Participants had similar perspectives on these items under behavior, perhaps for similar reasons. Now we look at lesson features. For student learning, structured environment is scored highest with a mean of 5.68, standard deviation 0.67. This might be because of the desire for order and control regarding students with special needs and classroom in general. Participants may also know the importance of structure for certain disabilities. Color coding might be lowest because of lack of understanding of its benefits. Some music teachers also may not like the idea of writing and coloring scores, especially original copies. Under behavior, structured environment again has the highest mean score, and color coding again is lowest, perhaps for similar reasons. We now look at individualized adaptations. Under learning, modifications for physical limitations might be highest because of the stigma of disability. Frequent nonverbal reinforcement has the lowest mean score, perhaps because of the perspective that a teacher communicates more by talking. Also, nonverbal communication is difficult for children with disabilities to understand, and it's individualized to the child. Under behavior, frequent verbal reinforcement is scored highest, maybe because of the traditional teacher role, and frequent nonverbal reinforcement is again the lowest. This slide looks at results under tools and aids. For items impacting learning, consultation with a special education teacher has the highest mean score, perhaps because special educators are the school's specialists for working with kids with disabilities. Teachers might feel these colleagues would offer the most help. Assistive technology is scored lowest, and this might be for a few reasons. It might be its limited but growing use in music classrooms. And additionally, teachers might not have the money or the time to learn about technological advances. Maybe they're at a school that doesn't use assistive technology or can't afford it. Looking under behavior, tools and aids was again the highest, and assistive technology was again the lowest. We now look at U.S. inclusion laws. All laws received high mean scores of 5.18 or higher. This may be because of value in their purpose according to law. This shows the power of politics in society. IDEA has the highest mean score, maybe because of its familiarity and frequent use in schools. Section 504 was rated lowest, perhaps because teachers are not familiar with this law. It's interesting to look at these same items under behavior. The mean scores all dropped to under 5. This may be because laws are not seen as related to student behavior. Under behavior, IDEA again is the highest, and section 504 is again the lowest. FERPA ties for the lowest, perhaps because of its focus on family education and not on behavior. Looking at U.S. contracts and documents, we see that all were rated highly, this time at 5.10 or higher. Again, this might be because of their connections to law and politics. A closer look under learning reveals that IEP is highest, perhaps again for the same reasons as its associated law, IDEA. Behavior contract is lowest, maybe because it might impact behavior more than learning. Under behavior, we see all high scores again. The BIP might be highest because of its legal connection, similar to IEP. Behavior contract might be lowest because it is not directly related to a law. There were quite a few limitations in this study. First are the short answer items. Allowing participants to provide original responses led to a variety of answers that were difficult to sort for accuracy. For example, the simple answer of college could mean that while in a music education program for work-related professional development or something else. Providing multiple choice options would work better. Another issue is the survey format. Asking respondents to rate importance in this format leads to a restriction of scores that inhibits analyses. Another format might work better, one that asks about participants' familiarity with items. Terminology may have also caused issues. Clarification of some words, such as paraprofessional, might be helpful to participants, or even using another term such as aids. Both terms accommodation and modification were used in this survey, and their distinct meanings should be clarified. Future research is needed regarding music teacher training of special education that is music content specific. Even replications of past studies would be helpful to see where we stand today. Studies are also needed regarding behavioral issues in music classes and music teachers' preparation to handle them properly. Research on laws and legal documents, their impact on music education, and teachers' familiarity with them would be helpful to our field as well. Thank you again for attending my session. Feel free to contact me at any time with questions or comments. I would love to connect with you. All the best to you.